Devil May Cry.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get there, let's talk about a very serious matter that happened with Ralph, okay? I was going to pick him up this morning. He had something on his hand. He had some bandages, right? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with your hand? Turns out he's got friction burn, okay? Friction burn.
From an index finger.
I asked him, I was like, where did you get it from? He said he
doing these ones.
He didn't want to go into it.
Liquid Snake.
But apparently he's going to be fine, okay? And he
Devil May
Devil May Cry.
Now, listen. Everyone loves Devil May Cry.
And we love it too.
I actually played it at Gamescom this year, and it's fucking awesome. Like, I was really, really impressed by it. It looked stunning, handles beautifully, action was fantastic, music was... Everything about it was just super solid.
Plenty of red orbs everywhere.
That's right. What happened just this week is that we learned that in Devil May Cry, you're going to be able to purchase red orbs, which are used to unlock your abilities and moves, for real-world money. There's going to be microtransactions in the next Devil May Cry game. The Laymen have more straight after the
drop, I guess. Okay, so Devil May Cry. Okay, everyone loves it. It brings back wonderful nostalgia, back in the old days especially. PlayStation 2. I think it was PlayStation 2. It was its home ground originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
There was no microtransactions back then, people. It was the good old days.
Time.
Split screen,
Before
you know.
EA, before the dark times.
Before the dark times.
You want to buy some death sticks?
But things have changed now, and there are more and more games that are doing microtransactions in multiplayer games and also in single-player games. Now, of course, a lot of people don't love the fact that games have them in multiplayer games, but I feel like it's a different thing entirely when games come out with single-player experiences and they also put microtransactions.
Yeah, because on the multiplayer side, there is a need to have some sort of recurring revenue model to keep the game going. If you're going to maintain good quality server architecture, if you're going to provide regular updates...
Microtransaction sympathizer.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy this and not join them!
Holy shit!
I have always said that I'm okay with microtransactions.
As long as they're done correctly.
So long as they're done correctly and they're not exploitative, you know? And it's certainly within a multiplayer game, there's a really strong case for having microtransactions, for sure. Single player games, it's kind of like, what the fuck? Why is this a thing? What's the need for this? Why is this occurring? It makes no sense to me.
Two things there. Like, if you're paying $60, $70, $80 for a game, you have already paid for that experience. And, you know, if you're playing a single player experience, you might finish it once, you might finish it twice. You might be a completionist and finish the whole fucking thing. But that is there originally in that $80 price tag, right? Yeah. But, I mean, I find that even on Twitter and Reddit, I'm seeing like a bit of a... two different camps there. Some people are like, no, I love Devil May Cry, there's no fucking way, everything's fine. And then some other people are like, hang on, I love Devil May Cry 2, but why the fuck are they putting microtransactions in this fucking single player experience?
Yeah, so, and just to be super clear, the red orb, the way it works is that red orbs, you acquire them while you're playing through a mission, and then at the end of the mission, you can actually spend them to unlock new moves and new abilities and all that sort of stuff. It's basically the progression, it's the experience points in the game as red orbs.
Yeah.
And they've announced this week, Capcom announced that you will be able to buy those red orbs with real world currency. It's a microtransaction offering. So, that happened, everyone exploded. Everyone's like, what's going on here? After that time, the producer of the game came out and he said this. Responding to a tweet asking for, you know, what's going on with all this, Matt Walker, producer at Capcom, said, "Thanks for the tweet. It's understandable that people are worried about microtransactions in games. I'm happy knowing that people will be reassured when they play the game and find that it's balanced the way all other DMCs have been." Even then, just the first tweet after that, I think, really sums this up quite well. This person says, this Agent Otzel says, "I'm sorry, but I'm not just going to take your word for it and spend $60. Exploitative business practices, no trust, no buy. After the whales have done their whaling, you'll likely remove microtransactions for the game and rebalance it for damage control, like what happened with Shadow of War." Now, the background to Shadow of War is that it had loot boxes in it when it first released, and that's when they make their big money, because the game comes out, everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited to play it, I want to progress, people spend their money, and then afterwards, Shadow of War's like, hey, we're such good guys, we've decided that we're actually going to remove these now, because we're such good guys.
Yeah, and not to mention,
fuck you.
Yeah, and it actually became known as Shadow of More Dollars. Thank you, Jim Sterling.
It was a real scam, but like, it was a real bait and switch, because at that point, they've already got what they were going to make from microtransactions. They've already made it.
Yeah.
Removing it just helps their PR cycle. It gets the game back in the headlines, gets people saying, oh, see, they're good guys. They understood in the end. They learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
rubbish. It shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Yeah.
People are very concerned that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I also think it can also be a fact that they put it in, testing the waters, and then they have to gauge the backlash, you know? So it's not all, in my opinion, it's not always going to necessarily be, okay, we've made the money from the whales. Sometimes it's like, let's put this in and see how everyone reacts.
Yeah,
and then, of course, people backlash it and it becomes shadow more dollars and they try and repair the brand. But, of course, it's fucked now.
So this is what, obviously, we have to... At this point, we can only just take Capcom at their word because we have no other information to go on. But at the same time, it's like, I don't plan to do that. I plan to really look at how this is going to work before I put down money for this game.
Exactly.
Many occasions we've seen these exploitative microtransactions come through, and having the word of one producer to say, don't worry guys, it's going to be fine. You can trust me.
It's just
That's
like
not enough, man. That's not enough.
It's like the Halo Infinite. Like, hey, we're not going to put real money loot boxes. I mean, that doesn't really say anything, especially when they're having, you know, on their Microsoft website, they're looking for microtransaction people to work on the game. This kind of stuff is the thing that makes people go, I can't take your word for it, because we're seeing other things and we're seeing clearly that you are putting in your game some sort of microtransaction model.
There is an argument that people offer around this, which is to say, listen, I'm really busy, I'm time poor, I have lots of money though because I work a lot.
Because I'm rich.
So therefore, I want to be able to skip to the end and have all the cool abilities. Give me the choice to do that. It doesn't affect you if I can skip to the end and do that, so don't worry about it. But the counter to that, and the reality is that very often game developers will tune and balance their game to incentivize you to want to spend.
Exactly.
Now, the Devil May Cry guys say that's not going to happen here, but we've seen it enough elsewhere to know that it's a very, very common occurrence.
Yep.
And I don't like that temptation. I don't like having in the back of my mind that any grind could be attached to trying to motivate me to spend. I just don't want it.
On top of that, also, I've said this in the 2K episode. Check it out, fam. They are incentivizing you to not complete the game in its entirety, and I just think that in that regard, it's robbing the player of needing to do the grind or needing to flesh out that world and actually look at the game that they've worked hard at. So, and on top of that, the people that do go and, you know, spend in single-player experiences, it then incentivizes other development houses to go, you know what, this worked, let's do it again. And then it becomes like this roll-on effect for other games.
If I ever made a video game, I would try to not make
the Laymen game.
I would try to make it not so shit that people would want to pay to not have to play it.
That's true.
That would be my goal.
That's
make a game that people want to play as opposed to want to pay to skip past it. That would be the dream.
The Laymen game would be a super Seducer game, okay? And it's coming out soon on stream, bro. On Steam, correct. I should say. You watch it.
Exactly right. Anyway, that's the news on Devil May Cry. We'll keep you posted. I'm sure this story will continue to evolve as more and more stuff happens and more stuff comes out and we get our hands on the game, which will eventually happen. As I said, I played it at Gamescom. It was fantastic. Sam hasn't played it because he's...
Not yet.
Because he's a pleb.
Because I'm a noob.
And we'll keep you updated.
See you, fam.